Okay, thank you all again for your patience, and hopefully you all are enjoying your meal. It looks like you may be enjoying your meal. So thank you for your patience as we navigate and just be a little flexible with our time schedule. We are scheduled from 12 to 1:30, so hopefully everyone has allocated that time to be with us today. Again, my name is Emma E. Houston, Assistant Vice President for Community Engagement here at the University of Utah. This is one of the things that I get to do, bring the community together to have conversation. And so we are so happy that you have joined us today here in person, but also virtually. We have some of our guests with us today. On behalf of our 17th President, Taylor Randall, I would like to welcome you to the 4th year of our Juneteenth celebration here at the University of Utah. So before we get our program started today, I would like to call Sarah up to give us a welcome from the J.W. Marriott Library.
Thank you, Emma. My name is Sarah Shreves, and I'm the Alice Sheets Marriott Dean of Libraries here at the U. I'm delighted that this campus celebration can be held here at the Marriott Library, as libraries are places where we gather for important conversations and community events. Libraries are also places of memory, where we preserve and provide access to the stories of our community and of our histories. And I hope you saw the facsimile of the Emancipation Proclamation outside that we hold in our special collections. For example, we also host the oral histories that the Sema Hadithi Foundation conducts. They are part of the France A. Davis Utah Black Archive, and ensuring that the many voices and stories of our communities are represented and made available is a priority for us at the Marriott. I also want to encourage you to take a look at the books outside that our librarian, Allison Maurer, has arranged just outside, and you can find links to the collections in your program. And also, I just want to say, please know you're welcome to visit the library at any time. We are open to everyone, obviously students and faculty, but also the community. Whether it's to borrow materials, attend an event, go see our special collections. You can make an appointment to see the special collections, and they'll pull out collections for you to take in and experience. So welcome to the Marriott Library, and I wish you all a happy Juneteenth. And so I'm now going to pass the mic back to Emma.
All right, thank you, Miss Sarah. Thank you, thank you. We know yesterday we celebrated Juneteenth, but what we do in this community, we start May 31st. Yeah, we started May 31st with Juneteenth celebration and go all the way to June 30th. So if you want to Google Juneteenth in Utah, Google that and you will see all of the other activities that will go on until the June 30th. So again, thank you for that. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the importance of Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, and the significance it has for the African American community for the past 160 years. So on June 17, 2021, President Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law, making the first new federal holiday since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established in 1983. Although African American communities across the country have observed the significance of Juneteenth for more than 160 years, the story of Juneteenth, our country's second Independence Day, finally took its rightful place in the national spotlight. This holiday commemorates June 19, 1865, the day Union General Gordon Granger and his troops informed enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, of their freedom. Nearly 3 years later, I'm going to let that one sink in for a second. Nearly 3 years later, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and the last group of enslaved Southerners finally received news of their liberation. The legacy of Juneteenth reminds us to never give up hope in uncertain times, to remember the resilience of generations that came before us, and to keep these important stories and lived experiences alive both today and for our shared future. We are honored to have members from the community who will share their perspective on the importance of celebrating, educating, and sharing the narrative of a historical event that continues to be relevant today. We want to thank each of you for joining us on this very special occasion. And now I will turn the time over to our moderator, Miss Jamie McGriff, my sister friend. She's my sister friend. Everybody know Jamie? Woo-wee. Miss Jamie is a 5-time Emmy-nominated journalist for KU TV Channel 2 News, who will guide us through the program and today's discussion. So really, let's give a welcome for Miss Jamie McGriff.
And just like that, we're getting started. Hi, everyone. All right. Uh, of course, I have to thank Ms. Emma Houston for the invitation, the University of Utah, J. Willard Library. I have done a number of stories, and it's good to have faces with names and to see faces that I haven't seen in quite some time with the number of history stories that I've done with Belonging in Utah. Selfless plug here. It airs every Friday at 5, or nearly every Friday at 5 o'clock. And, we have, over the last 3 years, talked about Black history in Utah. Sandra Hollins, Representative Hollins, connected me with the Sema Hadithi, African American History and Heritage Foundation, and we just really just started the ball, and it just kept rolling for 3 years. And now we have branched off and talking about Japanese American history in Utah as well. So, and with the nod of Miss Alice and Robert, they're giving me the nod of approval that, I think I have their blessing to expand, which was the plan. But today we are talking about Juneteenth, the legacy of Juneteenth and what it means. And it is an honor to serve as the moderator for today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am notorious for going on script and off script. I do that at work, as you all might have already known. But once again, we're going to get started. And sticking with the script, I'm going to invite Robert Burch to come up now to help get us all centered with the ancestral libation toast, followed by Representative Sandra Hollins.
Thank you, Jamie. Good afternoon, all. They say they didn't respond. I didn't think they heard me. So blessings to all here, and thank you for coming. When I was coming here this morning, Emma, we went over to the wrong building. And the guy said, Juneteenth was yesterday. I just shook my head. I was like, he don't know. It's okay. But Abraham Lincoln referred to emancipation as a new birth of freedom for all of us. And so from that, we will have our libation. From the papyrus of Ani, from the Book of the Dead, which is Kemet, pour libation for your father and mother who rest in the valley of the dead. God will witness your action and accept it. Do not forget to do this even when you are away from home. For as you do for your parents, your children will also do for you. Libation in Africa is a ritual of heritage, and so it is with us today. It is a drink offering to honor and please the Creator, our sacred ancestors, humans present and not present, as well as our environment. Our purpose is to promote oneness and balance of the beings and things, safeguarding the correct relationship among and between all beings and things in existence. We perform libation with pure water, the ultimate agent of both physical and spiritual purification. Libation helps us to overcome fears, anxieties, and frustrations. It promotes knowledge of and respect for elders and ancestors, hope and healing, unity and harmony. It reinforces our common bonds. It moves us towards the achievement of solidarity. As in the traditional African approach to life, we seek the influence of right and righteousness, justice and harmony, balance, respect, and human dignity. Notions of order and balance represent a deeper meaning, the deeper meaning of Ashe. Ashe is the power to make things happen and to produce change. It is given by Olodumare to everything: gods, ancestors, spirits, humans, animals, plants, rocks, and rivers. It is the voiced words such as songs, prayers, praises, swearings, and even everyday conversation. Existence is dependent upon the power of Ashe. Again, let me say existence is dependent on the power of the words that we speak. Now, if some of you are familiar with our process here every year at the U, we're going to take an opportunity right now to make sure that we respect the most senior among us. So I'm going to ask this question every day, every time we do this. Everybody gets shy on me, so don't be shy. And we're going to ask first for the oldest sister or the oldest mother in this room. Well, you're going to have to be unashamed and tell us your age, huh? Yes, ma'am. And what's your name? Joyce Gray. What? You are blessed, sister. You said Joyce Gray. Okay. Oh, okay. Doc. I was going to say mother, but we'll go whatever your preference is. Okay. And so the elder's father or brother here. So I'm going to start out and say I'm 64. I don't know how many people are older than that. I'm the old man in this room. So 63 then. We'll go down from there. Well, people, y'all guys are so shy every time I come in here. So don't make me pick out somebody. Oh, okay. What's your name? Scott. What's your last name, Scott? Scott Jensen. Okay, so we have Mother Joyce and Father Scott, and I'm going to ask you. Yes, ma'am. Ooh. So I'm sorry, Mother Joyce. And what's your name?
Oh, Carolyn Morrow. And I used to be on the faculty here. I was a Spanish professor.
Spell your last name for me.
Morrow.
Okay, Morrow. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. And what I was about to say, everyone knows who the senior mother and father is here today, and we will show them respect today, I pray. and give them an opportunity, if you have the opportunity, to go up and take part in their wisdom and at least speak and show respect to the elders among us today, okay? I appreciate that because we always show respect to our mothers and our fathers, our elders. And so with that, we request permission from our father and our mother to proceed with this libation. And I want to get a physical response. Yes. Okay, I'm still looking at Sister Morrow back there. She didn't shake her head. But we're okay. Okay. As we now begin, it is important that you realize that when you perform libation, you are awakening the ancestors. They are faithful who have suffered hundreds of years of slavery on the continent, in Brazil, Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, the United States, Canada, and Australia. They are the survivors of oppression and temples of indomitable wills. They are the vessels of faith that have transcended and overcome. They are the exemplars of the greatest stories of faith in God. And we call them into our presence by calling them by name and saying Ashe. Say Ashe. We thank our ancestors and beseech their support. Ashe. To bring stability to our lives. To bring clarity to our minds. To cleanse our hearts. To protect us from harm. We ask that they bless us with their indomitable spirits, their faithful grace. We call them our fathers and mothers pioneers. We call them our father and mother who through sufferings built our homes, built our heritage, and built our culture. We will have a moment of silence as we consider our ancestors and hold them in our hearts. Again, we give homage and thanks to our God and to our ancestors.
Thank you, Robert, for that libation toast. And now we will have Representative Sandra Hollins to come now.
Good afternoon. Oh, I've got to get my glasses. Today we are here to celebrate a nationally recognized federal and state holiday, Juneteenth. Flags have symbolic meaning everywhere, from the American flag to the Pan-African flag. The first flag that represented the Juneteenth holiday was created in 1997 by Ben Hett, the founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation. Three years later, artist Lisa Janine Graff explained on her website that she fine-tuned the original version, resulting in the flag we see today. This was the same year that Hatt led the holiday initial flag-raising ceremony in Boston's Roxbury Heritage Park. According to the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation, What do the flag's color and symbols mean? You see that the Juneteenth flag uses the exact same colors as the United States flag: red, white, and blue. This was done intentionally and meant to show that the formerly enslaved and their descendants are free Americans too. I would also like to mention that it signifies that Black history in this country is American history. According to the NJOF, here's what the individual symbols depicted in the flag represents. The ark, a new horizon, meaning fresh opportunities and promising futures for Black Americans. The star, not only is it a nod to the Lone Star State, where Juneteenth was first celebrated in 1865, but it also stands for the freedom of every Black American in all 50 states. The burst, the outline surrounding the star, is meant to reflect a nava, a new star, which represents a new beginning for all. And in 2007, the first date of the first Juneteenth, which was June the 19th, 1865, was added to the flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hollins. And so now checking to see how everyone's doing. Raise of hands here. How many empty plate fans do we have? We got a few. How many people are still munching and crunching? How many people are enjoying their food? Everybody's hand should go up. Every last one of your hands should go up. And of course, shout out to Ms. Emma for thinking, and for those who thought about feeding, you know, you got to feed them, then lead them. That's how you do it. That's the formula. That is the formula. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure that we acknowledge the panelists who are here. We have Ms. Betty Sawyer, if you could raise your hand so we can all see you. Yes. And Dr. William Smith. And you just heard from Mr. Robert Burch. Representative Sandra Hollins. And Ms. Cynthia Harris. Thank you all for participating with today's Juneteenth discussion. The observance of Juneteenth is about the journey and achievement of African Americans. You're going to be hearing about this for the rest of the month and in the years to come. They endured a horrific period of sanctioned enslavement to the pinnacle of human endeavors. It is the story of pride, resilience, determination that will always be of historical and spiritual importance, as it serves us well to understand that together we can overcome obstacles that are placed in our path. To our distinguished panel, once again, thank you for joining us. The theme is "And Still We Rise." It makes a powerful, intentional statement. Yes? Yes? How many of you have overcome obstacles? Every hand should have gone up. Okay, you see how this goes. This is going to be an engagement thing we got going on, okay? I'm going to raise hands, because the other part of this of feeding and leading them is that we have to lead you to make sure that you don't fall asleep after you eat. I know how this goes. Just saying. All right, so what I'm going to do, and this is where technically it gets a little interesting, because I am going to hand off a microphone to the panelists. And the panelists are going to, as they see and feel moved by the spirit of our ancestors, speak. And with the blessing of our technical, shout out to our technical support. Without him, we are nothing. I mean, that's not true, but of course, to be able to broadcast the messages that we are looking to share today, that is important. So I think we're good. Awesome. And everybody can hear me okay? Marvelous. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And we should be online as well, yes. And so shout out to the folks who are watching us live stream as we speak. We're going to get started now with the panel discussion. And the first question for anyone who would like to respond to this and how you see fit, how does Juneteenth continue to hold significance for Black communities today?
Okay.
And
So,
we want to point out, too, that Miss Betty, if you're not familiar with Miss Betty's work, she has organized one of the largest Juneteenth celebrations, events in the state of Utah. 4 years ago, yes,
36.
4 years ago, I had the opportunity when I first came to Utah. That was the first event that I went to, because everybody said, if you really want to see a lot of Black folks, that's where you go. And so it is appropriate for Miss Betty to start this off. So yes, please.
Thank you so much, and thank each of you for being with us today. For me, the significance that this celebration, this moment in time, and this movement serves is to make sure that we keep the flames alive, that we don't assume that because we had Juneteenth in 1865 and that word of freedom came, that it was all said and done. We could check that off our list and go on about our merry way. We are still in the midst of a struggle for freedom, justice, equality, and liberty today. You don't have to look far. If you open up your ears and look, you'll see where we are and what's going on in our country. And so this, to me, solidifies the need to continue to celebrate Juneteenth, a need to continue to tell our history, to tell our story, and not just the story from past, because as I look around this room, we all have a story to tell, and that story is going to help somebody along the way. And so Juneteenth's significance today, as it was 160 years ago, is one of those reminders that, yes, together we rise, and we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And the only way that we're going to really, truly get to that place is that we be truthful with ourselves, in our families, in our homes, in our communities, and most importantly, across this country, across this world, to what Juneteenth was really about and continues to be about today. Thank you.
I feel impressed to ask this question as well, because once again, you have created a movement in Ogden when it comes to Juneteenth, one of the largest events. When you first got the inspiration to get started with Juneteenth, how was it received, and when did you really start to see the momentum pick up for people to really have interest in the state of Utah in Juneteenth?
My journey with Juneteenth began in Utah. I've been here 50 years. I came here as a fresh graduate from Morgan State University in Baltimore and looking for a community. And I looked and looked and looked. And I'm still looking. No, I'm just joking. But in looking for a community, I shared that when I traveled as a child, my mother always told us whenever we went someplace new, we looked for the church and the NAACP. And when I came to Utah, I looked for the church and the NAACP. And fortunate for me, it only took me about 3 weeks to find them. But in finding the NAACP, Miss Alberta Henry was the president, Lenoris Bush was one of the vice presidents, and he introduced me to Juneteenth. He invited me out to Jordan Park for a Juneteenth celebration. And once I got there, it's like, okay, this is cool. I like this. They had baseball games going on, great food, and just a great time. And I saw a lot of Black folk. I was serving as director of the Governor's Office of Black Affairs at the time. And one day I received a phone call from a gentleman named Dr. Ronald Myers. He was over the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation, and he had heard about Utah, and he asked if I would work to make Juneteenth a state holiday. And again, that was my first Juneteenth. I didn't know very much, but I did my research. And as an activist, being raised in an activist family, it's like, okay, a party, I could do that, you know. And that's when I first got started. And after that, it was probably about 10 years for it to really take hold. Our first Juneteenth celebration that we did in Ogden, someone forgot to reserve the park in Salt Lake for Juneteenth that year, and all the parks were taken. And so they were going to cancel Juneteenth. And I said, how do you cancel Juneteenth? It's going to come whether we celebrate or not, right? And so I called a friend in Ogden who was the director of the Marshall White Center and asked if we could come up there and celebrate Juneteenth. And he said yes. So we found a flatbed truck. We had someone with an umbrella for the performers if they needed it, and we celebrated. And we continue to celebrate both in Salt Lake and Ogden. And I had the bug and kept going. And of course, with the Black Lives Matter movement and the death of George Floyd, everybody started celebrating Juneteenth around Utah and around the country. And so we've seen it continue to grow and grow and grow.
What are some of the ways that Juneteenth can help promote understanding and awareness when we're talking about racial inequality? And that's loaded because we're not just talking about the color of our skin. We're talking about all of the challenges that come with it, every aspect of living.
The easiest thing, I think, it creates an atmosphere that may be a little bit more comfortable for people to talk and say what they need to say. When you come out to a Juneteenth celebration and people are enjoying food, they're listening to good music, maybe like at Mill Creek, skating and doing all these things together, the first thing we get to do is be comfortable around each other. A lot of times when I've experienced is that people might have these really negative things to say about black people, and then I asked them, what specific black person are you talking about, just to find out they don't know none. so that is the first thing. It gives us as a community, especially if you came out to like the one in Mill Creek, there was people of all different ethnic colors, everything, and all out eating, having fun, and being together. The other thing that it offers an atmosphere where people can hear the truth in a comfortable situation. Sometimes we take things as in a debate and make it adversarial. Juneteenth is an opportunity for everyone to be able to come together and say, how can we all heal as a community? We can pretend that these things that happened before only affect black people, but they affect everybody. Even if your parents were or grandparents were perhaps one of the people who perpetuated those kind of things against other people. So I just urge everyone to come out. Like Emma said, we start on May 31st, and we go till we get tired, because I'm sure Betty can tell you how many events she's done this month and how many more she got to go this month. So you have every opportunity to get out and meet someone that you didn't know. Like Emma was saying when she first started, was that how many people have you shaken hands with today? How many people did you walk up to that you don't know? Get over that bubble around you and reach out to some folks in this room. I've already asked you to make sure you speak to Sister Morrow. And I'm sorry, brother, I forgot your last name. Brother Scott. So please do that.
We are living in a world with misinformation, and it's being done on purpose. It's being done systematically. And people are taking that information and taking it as their truth. You know, what's the old saying, if it's on the internet, it must be true. I think what Juneteenth does is it gives us an opportunity to counteract a lot of that misinformation that is out there about our history. You know, one of the talking points that I've been seeing repeatedly online is, why do we celebrate Juneteenth? That is a Texas holiday. That is a Galveston, Texas holiday. Why is it spreaded? Well, the 4th of July is not just a Philadelphia holiday. It's a it was something happened that impacted the entire United States. The freedom of these enslaved people impacted the entire United States. And so I think what this does, it gives us an opportunity to counteract misinformation that is out there. I'm going to urge you all, please do research when people say stuff on the internet. Please don't take it as the truth. Look for it, do your research, ask people, ask somebody, the experts. Pick up the phone. I'm sure Mr. Burch here, if you picked up the phone and say, look, I heard this about your history, he will not mind saying that's not true. Let me tell you what the correct information is surrounding that. So I'm going to urge some of you all, I'm going to urge all of you, please don't believe everything you're reading on the internet. It's being done on purpose. It has it's done to divide. So please, let's I'm just asking us to do that.
I'd like to pick up on where Representative Hollins left off. Fortunately, I was born in Chicago. That's a great state in the Midwest. Yes, we consider Chicago a state. Right, Jason Lee? so I grew up understanding what Juneteenth was. But I would like to share what I feel it is. I think Juneteenth is something about hope. It's something about education. It's something about understanding. It's something about perseverance. It's something about uplift. Because if you understand the time in which it happened, many of us, as Betty said, she came here and she learned more about Juneteenth. There's a lot of people who don't understand or know what Juneteenth is about. They thought January 1st, 1865 or whatever, people were freed, or that Lincoln loved black folks so much. And I'm from the land of Lincoln. You can convince most black people in the state of Illinois that Lincoln was a white supremacist. And many of you, this is your first time hearing it. But you have to understand our history. He was against enslavement of people. But when you look at the debates between Lincoln and Douglas supported the enslavement of black people, right? And so it was an interesting thing. I grew up there, and I went to school at Eastern Illinois University. I stayed in Douglas Hall. The women's hall was Lincoln Hall, right? Our twin dorm or residence hall, right across from us. Now, how do you think it would feel to stay in a residence hall named after a white supremacist who would, in his debates with Lincoln, would use the N-word multiple times, right? Now, Lincoln came to warm up to saying that he wanted to end enslavement, but he also said, and if you look at the debate that he had at Charleston, Illinois, where my university was located, he said, I, like no other man, am in favor of the white man holding superiority. And as much as I believe that there will not be an association between blacks and whites, that black people should be repatriated to Africa. So that's Lincoln. So it's a complex history. And that's what Juneteenth is. We thought that there was an Emancipation Proclamation and all blacks were freed. Then we come to find out, not just in Texas, but also in Maine and Connecticut, there were still black people who were enslaved, right? And now with that, Now let's think about that part of the history. 1865, end of enslavement. Tulsa, the Black Wall Street. By 1910, 10,000 black people living in Tulsa, having an airport, having a theater, having a post office, having all kinds of black businesses, operas, and then it's all destroyed. And I'm gonna end with this. Many of you who are a little older, old enough, will remember Star Trek, the series on TV. Now, you remember Lieutenant Uhura? Okay. Did you know that Martin Luther King Jr. convinced her to take that role? Right? He said, think about what it would mean for black people in this country, but not just black people, for all people. Now, she's from right outside of Chicago, a little city called Robbins, Illinois. Robbins, Illinois is also where Dwayne Wade, the basketball player, is from. Kiki Palmer, some of you might know, that's a more relevant or common name, is from Robbins, Illinois. Robbins, Illinois also had an airport that they had aviation training. People would fly in, no problem. So now this is about 6 years before she was born, Lieutenant Uhuru. Now I'm blocking on her name, her real name. Yes, thank you, Doc. Michelle Nichols was born there. And so about 6 years before her birth. And this also was predating the Tuskegee Airmen taking their first flight, destroying. Not because of anything that was mismanaged at the airport, but because of white fear and white jealousy. So here's the footnote to that. My wife yesterday was running errands, and she forgot that this is a federal holiday. She went up to put something at the post office. This ties into Representative Hollins' comment. And she looked at the door and couldn't get in. And she said there was an old woman. And I kind of smiled because, we kind of old now. So, but she gave it a little bit more context, and so I'm thinking that this woman might have been in her late 70s, early 80s. And she said, ma'am, she called my wife over, and she said, it's closed. It's because of that silly holiday. And I'm like, first of all, I was wondering if she knew anything about it. Why would you call a black woman over to your car to say that's a silly, it's a silly holiday? So the misinformation about our history and Juneteenth and other things is still something that we have to eradicate, that we have to continue to teach about, because if we hope that there will be mutual understandings about the gifts that we all have brought to this country, it's got to be understood firstly with truth and recognition, and then I think we can make a movement. And I'll end with this. My examples weren't to talk about the disasters of those cities and those people. 10,000 people unhoused, 1,000 homes and businesses destroyed in Tulsa. My point is, think about what they did in such a short amount of time after emancipation. Now put that into context with 2025 and why you think there's still oppression in various parts of our country.
How can organizations and people get involved with Juneteenth? Now that the door is open with this holiday, with the events that are happening, and it creates time for dialogue, what are some of the ways that people can get involved and organizations can get involved?
There are various aspects of Juneteenth. One part is a celebration, another part is education, and for me, the bigger part is activism. What are we going to do now that we know better, now that we celebrated and had our fun? One of the things that we included in Juneteenth about 10 years ago was that we kicked off the weekend, excuse me, with somebody don't want me to speak truth to power. That's all I'm saying. But I'm going to say it anyway, maybe talk a little fuller. Thank you. But one of the things we added to our Juneteenth celebration was a town hall meeting, the State of Black Utah town hall meeting. I can have my own party. My birthday is on the 16th of June, so I end up celebrating it with Juneteenth. But it was important for me to usher in an opportunity for us to recognize and address where we are, where we've been, and where we need to go, and how can we build a collective agenda to do the necessary work. The reality is that all of the confusion and chaos that we see going on and has been going on since we landed in Virginia, and I got to go back and step my foot in the water and just imagine what my ancestors, those 20 and odd enslaved people that were first brought here, what probably went through their minds. But what we have to do, because this is about race, this is Bettyology right now. This ain't nobody else's story. This is my story. I believe it's still and has been about race. It has been about class. And those things are still to the forefront of what we hear each and every day. Who has the right to this American dream? Who has the right to a decent job? Who has the right to health care? Who has the right to a great education? There were people that went to court to say, I might be different, but I'll be anything but black. Okay? Why? Because they saw what was going on with us. They may have been a part of that. And so as we deal with this racialized history, intentional, institutional, structural, nothing that's going on is just by accident. You cannot convince me of that. You just can't, because I see it. I see it played out. We have a plan, we work the plan, and then we get to react to the plan. And so with the Utah Black Agenda, it's like, how do we get in front of this? How do we get in front of this movement to annihilate me? Folk that hate me for whatever reason, I don't know why I'm such a wonderful person. So how do we get in front of this and build an agenda, bring like-minded people together to work that agenda to see the results? Because it's unfortunate that we still have places where our kids are walking in and they're the only black person in the room. They're still walking in spaces where there's no one, no educator that looks like them. There are people still have not had a black doctor or a nurse or anything else. And then we're saying that everything is okay. Oh, we're doing better. So I'm not here, Robert, no offense, to be comfortable. We had to get uncomfortable and be okay with being uncomfortable sometimes, because that's how we move the needle. We're not going to move with just being nice and say, oh, this is wonderful. And so I'm at a place in my life where it's about resistance, it's about resilience, it's about renewal, and it's still about black joy, because I want to feel good about myself. I want my children, my grandchildren, all of them to be able to hold their heads up, stick their chests out, and be okay walking into any room, anywhere, and being okay about that, and to speak their truth and have a great opportunity, an equal opportunity. And so while we celebrate, let's build that agenda, let's work that agenda, so we can address some of those things, the Kindergarten Institute, all of those wonderful reports. If you look up black folk on all of those data sheets, I don't care if it's housing, education, employment, business, look at that. And are we okay with that? Are we okay? Are we okay? Because it's not because we're shiftless and lazy, because I don't know too many black folk that don't have 2 or 3 jobs every day, all the time. It's not because we didn't work hard, because we knew we had to work twice as hard to get half as far. So why are things still the way they are today? Thank you.
Can I just add something to that? I was just thinking about a story that my baby girl came home and told me, something that happened to her. She was at this restaurant, and she was standing in line waiting on them to finish preparing her food. And when she got to the end of the line, her food stood there, and they started waiting on everybody behind her. And they started getting their food, and she stood there. And she said she felt uncomfortable to say anything because she felt if she said anything, she was going to be perceived as angry or combative. So she stood there. And while she was standing there waiting patiently, this white woman came up and said, "Why are you standing here?" She said, "They haven't finished my food." And the woman was in line. She said, "What you mean they haven't finished your food?" She said, "It's sitting right there. They haven't finished my food." She said, "Well, why haven't you said anything?" And she said, "I don't feel comfortable saying anything." She said, "Okay." And the woman used her position and her privilege. And we all have privilege. We all have, it's not a bad thing. I have, as a state legislator, I have some privileges that you don't have. She used her privilege to advocate for my daughter. And she started saying, why hasn't her food been fixed? Let me see the manager. Where's her food? We're going to discount this food. And as a matter of fact, you're going to give her a free soda while you're at it. And that's what we need. That's what we need. Even as a state legislator, there are some things I cannot say. There are some spaces I cannot go. There are some rooms I don't get invited into. And I realize it. So I depend on others in that room to be that voice. And so as you're looking at thinking, how can I help or what can I do? Just remember, this struggle is not just June. It's not just June. January the 1st to December the 31st, it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and it's a battle that we're in the middle of at all times.
This is going to be the last comment, and then we're going to have to wrap things up.
Just to add on that, thank you. Something that you brought up that I've been thinking about is that Juneteenth, we know it as June 19th, but it's not a one-day thing. It is every day. When you leave this room, Juneteenth isn't over. When June 30th hits, Juneteenth isn't over. Juneteenth is every day. Juneteenth has to happen in your hiring meetings. Juneteenth has to happen in your admissions offices. Juneteenth has to happen in this library. Juneteenth has to happen in Chipotle. It has to happen everywhere. It has to happen in music. It has to happen in your classrooms. It has to happen in the bathroom. So please, when you leave this room, when you have heard what all of these wonderful people have to say, don't forget it. Carry it with you every single day, because that is where it starts. That's how you can get involved in Juneteenth right now. You don't have to put on a festival. You don't have to put on a panel. You can carry Juneteenth with you every single day. That's how you can get involved.
I can't think of a more epic way to close that out. Thank you. Thank you. And for all of the panelists, for everything that you have shared today, how many of you have learned something today? How many of you are inspired today? How many of you are going to make a change starting today? All right. Thank you so much. All right, so now what we're going to do is Miss Cynthia Harris, University of Utah, Mezzo-Soprano, coming to give us a song, giving us our Juneteenth song.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I will. So just a real quick. Oh, that's so sweet. That would be great. But can I give a quick? So this piece is called "Hold Fast to Dreams." It's written by Florence Price. Composed by Florence Price. The lyrics are by Langston Hughes, the amazing Harlem Renaissance poet. And I brought this to you because Langston Hughes was nothing if he wasn't a dreamer. The dream, like I said, Juneteenth doesn't end today. It doesn't end tomorrow. It's forever. Hold fast to the dream. Keep the dream. That's how we move forward. And that's why I bring this song to you. Oh, you can move back. Thank you. It's going to be loud.
is a barren field, frozen.
Beautiful selection. Thank you so much, Ms. Harris. And giving us our closing remarks, Leilani Allen McLaughlin.
Hey, everybody. Let's give one more round of applause for Cynthia. That was amazing. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. My name's Leilani Allen McLaughlin. I'm the director for the Center of Community and Cultural Engagement here on campus. And I'll keep this super brief so we can enjoy and kind of engage after this event. But I did have a question for you all. Actually, this is a question that I've been getting a lot this month. I grew up in southern Utah as a Black queer woman. And as you can imagine, Juneteenth was not celebrated. It wasn't something that was taught in my school. And it was not something that I learned about ever. So moving up here to Salt Lake and having this community has meant so much. So I really appreciate all of you who make these events happen, who bring community together. It's really beautiful, and I really appreciate you all coming and learning about Juneteenth today. And so the question I've been getting the most this Juneteenth is, why should I celebrate your freedom? And that really got me because I feel like without our freedom, would we be sitting in this room today? I am a descendant of Betsy White, who was a 9-year-old girl who got off the slave ships in North Carolina. And she had 2 sons, Isaac and Aesop, and they settled in Pensacola, Florida. And so when you look around this room, at the Black people in this room, this is our history. Our ancestors came off of those ships, and the resilience of our ancestors got us here today, which is really amazing. It's beautiful. Sorry, my computer shut down. So the question is, why should we celebrate freedom for all, which is what Juneteenth is about? Raise your hand if you stopped at a traffic light today. Our brother Garrett Morgan, who only had an elementary school education, created the 3-light traffic stop. Raise your hand if you have a home security system. Yeah? Our sister Mary Van Britton Brown invented the first home security system in America. Now raise your hand if you listen to jazz, blues, R&B, hip hop, soul, funk, rock and roll, and country music. Those are all contributions to the Black community in America. So why should we celebrate my freedom? Is because it's all of our freedom. Without these contributions, without our freedom together, what would we have in America? So I think when people come to you and ask you those questions, ask them to look up. What Black inventors do you know? What Black creators do you know? What Black musicians do you know? And realize that those are things that we all benefit from. It only makes us stronger as a community when we come together and realize that we are in community together. We're literally side by side right now. And so I don't see a reason why we can't point out those contributions to in our country and realize that our steps to freedom have all looked different. So one more question. Who's celebrating Pride Month? Yeah, love Pride Month. Our sister Marsha P. Johnson was the one who started the Stonewall riots back in the day, and she was a Black trans woman. So I feel like June holds a lot of significance for our community. And when I say our community, I mean all of our community, not just the Black community. As you can see, we've made a lot of contributions to this country. So as we pay tribute to the journey, we acknowledge many roles and contributions of the African American spirit to our society. We embrace the past as well as the future that only unity, respect, and appreciation can bring. To the countless supporters, organizers, and attendees of this Juneteenth celebration and Juneteenth celebrations hosted across this nation and beyond, you are writing history of our country and our world. There can be no greater honor than that. We celebrate Juneteenth. So thank you to everyone, our guests, our Juneteenth committee, and our beautiful moderator over here. Thank you all for coming, and happy Juneteenth.
All right, and thank you once again to everyone, our special guests, who really took time out to participate in this occasion. And Miss Emma, you should come in closing remarks, like the official closer. If there's anybody.
Everything has been said that needs to be said. I think one of the things that we often forget is that when we stand side by side with each other, we can change history, we can create new paths, we can develop a community that we will be proud to live in. So hopefully individuals that you have met today, that when you see them walking across campus or in the community, do the sister nod. You know what that is, right? I see you. I see you. Acknowledge individuals. And if you have a question, like Miss Jamie has said, have a conversation with someone. All we can do is tell you our lived experiences. You can share your lived experiences, and united, we can do the very best that we can, not only for this generation, for generations to come. So thank you so very much. I'm going to shout out to my boss, Chris Nelson. Chris, raise your hand. Chris gives me so much latitude to create opportunities like this in the community. So I am grateful for the team that I get the opportunity to work with to bring community together. So what you know, between now and December 31st, it's Juneteenth. Thank you.